Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are back today. Got some Octopath, some Octo podcast for you all. But let's thank everybody who makes it possible. The beautiful sages of the lodge you see on your screen. You can either become a YouTube channel member or donate to the link in the description that I always put there. You guys know the drill. I say it every time. And as I say every time, I'm just glad you're all here. That's all I ask for. Just come and hang out. Everything else is a bonus. Speaking of bonuses, we have an amazing guest for you all today. The man who told me I'd be a fool if I didn't play this game. None other than the great AndyBru. Andy, what's going on, man? How's it going?
Oh, it's going good, man. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk some Octopath. I feel like I just need more. I just need to talk about this game, dude. And what better place to talk about one of the best JRPGs to come out of last year than the Landy Lodge.
Honestly,
so,
I would say the last few years. I'd go that
Yeah.
far, dude. Honestly, there aren't many 100-hour plus games that have me tempted to do a second playthrough, but this is certainly one of them.
Right.
This is certainly one of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, it definitely will. It definitely will do that to you. It's and we were actually talking a little bit before, but I was saying how I don't really replay games unless I really love them because I usually cherish that first experience. But with this game, you can I could pick a completely different character to start with and experience the game. You experience the same stories and the characters all over again, but you go through the game a little bit differently because how the game is set up. You pick a character, you start on one side of the map, and it's well, what if I picked the dancer, the start? And so how different that would have been in terms of gameplay. But anyway, I'm sure we'll talk about all that stuff. Yeah, I'm also tempted to do a second playthrough. It's in my opinion the most underrated game of 2023. If you ask me.
It's not even close. I mean, I say that with the 9 games from last year I played of the 100 that came out, but I very seldom come away from a game and feel like it's not being talked about enough. The last time I felt that was probably Neo: The World Ends With You. It'd be comparing apples and oranges to compare the two, but at the end of the day, I feel like this is a game people are asking for, but they just don't know it exists. You have everybody who's lamenting, there's no more turn-based RPGs. Action RPGs are taking over everything. AAA 3D realistic graphics are taking over everything. Meanwhile, you have this beautiful mix of old and new just waiting to be discovered. That I knew about the Octopath series. I didn't realize what I was missing out on until you told me to play it. But I guess before we gush about it anymore, I will say, guys, we're going to keep this spoiler-free until about the 45-minute to hour mark. There'll be soft spoilers, like the character's backstory and maybe their conflict, but we'll keep all major spoilers tight-lipped until we get towards the end, or rather 45-minute hour mark. That said, Andy, before again we get into any of this, I have to ask you, what are some of the improvements Octopath 2 made over Octopath 1? Because that seems to be a regular point of conversation among people that have played this game, is that it did everything right when it came to improving upon itself. So can you shine a little bit of light onto that?
Sure. Yeah. So I played Octopath 1, I don't even know, a few years ago now. Really loved the game. I really did. But there was just some things that felt that were lacking, and that felt oh man, it would have been a lot nicer if they would have done something like this. And all of those things that I thought they did in Octopath 2. So for example, in the first Octopath game, only very specific parts of the game are voice acted. So it's only every character, there's 8 characters hence named Octopath, and so every character has maybe 4, sometimes 5 chapters to their story. In Octopath 1, the only moments that were voice acted were like the ends of those chapters. So like you fight the boss in chapter 1, and then that final moment, that final scene is voice acted, but then like the rest of the game isn't. You fight the final boss in the chapter 4, and like that final scene is voice acted, but everything leading up to that is not. Nothing wrong with that, but I will say that those were the moments where I was the most immersed into what was going on. Not saying that you can't get immersed into reading text on screen. I mean, look how popular like these old school RPGs are to this day. Like they have incredible stories,
or
and
even
they're not voice acted, obviously.
Yeah, even right, and so is a bunch of reading.
Yeah, but I think the voice acting definitely helps bring the characters to life. Octopath Traveler 2, every single main story scenario and important side quests are voice acted from start to finish. So everything is voice acted, and it made like me feel more immersed in what was going on with their stories, and it actually made me feel more connected to these characters more in this game in contrast to the Octopath 1, because I could really actually feel like, you know, for example, like Oswald's pain through some of the things that he had to deal with, because Alejandro Saab crushed it as Oswald, which I didn't even realize that was him until I looked it up, which was that blew my mind because the dude is so talented. But you get more invested. I feel like it brings the characters to life, and it helped me get more immersed into what was going on and more connected with the characters and their stories. And not only that, but like even down to like the music, dude. Like, so the music, Octopath has fantastic music. This is probably one of the greatest soundtracks I've heard in the last couple of years, to be completely honest. And the way that in this game that they segue, like whenever you're coming up to like a pretty important boss fight, they will segue like the character themes of these characters seamlessly into the boss music. And then like there's like whenever you get to like the end of like a character story, it's like a super intense battle theme of their theme that's playing to kind of like amp you up. Octopath 1, to my memory, didn't have anything like that. So even like just getting to like moments like that in the game, it just felt like I felt more hyped whenever I got there. I'm like, oh, this is crazy. Along the lines of the voice acting and things like that. This is kind of like a lighter one, but so in Octopath 1, and in this game, you know, there's moments where like you'll have certain characters in your party, and it'll say like press plus for banter. And so like they'll have like a conversation that was present in the first game, and it's also in this game as well. But something that was not present in the first game was the banter in battle between characters.
I love that so much. I just want to interrupt you very briefly to say,
go for it. Yeah, absolutely. Please.
Little lines the characters would toss back and forth mid battle. It's like you don't know you want something until it's given to you. That's just like a perfect example. Yeah. I didn't even know that's what I wanted, and this game delivered.
Yeah. It's little stuff. Like it's literally like just little things like Throne saying to Oswald, "Impressive, Professor," and it's like, oh, you actually acknowledge your party. Like this is we didn't have that in the first game. Like this is crazy. And even down, it's like little details like that. It's not even that, but like some of my favorite moments were during the boss fights. I don't know if you picked up on this, but if you like fully boosted with like the character that story that you're in, sometimes they will have a very specific line that they will say in that situation. So for example, the one that just stuck out to me the most, and it's so simple, but it was I picked Throne. That was my protagonist character. That's who I started with. And so in her chapter 1, I'm not going to spoil it, but like, you know, she's fighting the boss. And when you fully boost with her, sometimes she will shout the boss's name. And it's like, whoa, like that We didn't have little details like that in the first game. So it's little things like that that even just help you get more immersed into the battle. And speaking of the combat and the battle and the battles and the fights, the animations that they pull off in this game, like with like a 2D, 3D, HD, like pixel looking game, dude, immaculate. Like they had those animations in the first game, but in this game they seem more fluid. So like for example, Alphen is the apothecary in the first game. So whenever he like swings his axe, he kind of just like, you know, you fully boost and you do the axe attack, it's just like he's just hacking away. But with Casti, if you're doing multiple axe attacks, she does like different motions. So she'll like swing and then she'll swing this way, and it just looks more fluid. And some of like the things that like the characters can do with like some of their moves, it's so cool. Yeah, so the animation's definitely an upgrade from this game. That's just like a small aspect of that. In this game has a night and day system. The first game does not. And that was really interesting because each character has different path actions. So for example, if you're the thief character, you can steal stuff from NPCs. So you can literally see, and I've done this a multitude of times because this was my character, but like you see a child walking down the street and it's like, oh, I see you got some candy. 100% steal rate? Yeah, I'll take that. Probably never going to use it. Yeah, you literally. I'll never forget, I did a side quest where, I'll kind of explain the day and night thing. So, every character has like path actions, but at nighttime, if you switch it to night, first of all, the world changes around you. So like different NPCs come out at different times and they'll be in different places at different times. And there's some quests that you can only do like at nighttime and at daytime, some side quests. But your character also has a second path action depending on the day. So for example, the thief, like we just talked about, during the daytime can steal. But at nighttime, she can ambush somebody. So if there's like a guard blocking a door that you want to get in and he's ambushable and you are a high enough level to do that, you can just knock him out and then you can go in. Mm-hmm. Again, Octopath 1 didn't have a day-night cycle, so that just kind of, in this game, it just showed more like what you can do at different times. And then like, I'll never forget, I did a side quest where like I helped like this midwife. I don't even remember what the side quest was. And like I had Oswald in my party, and I'll never forget where like I completed the side quest after like doing everything, and then I changed it to nighttime and I mugged her. like it's just off the rails. Like you could do that. Like you could help somebody and then you can change it to nighttime and you can mug them. Like that's a thing that you can do.
And let me just punch in. One of my favorite things too was the way other characters interacted to other characters' overworld ability. Like, for instance, when I first unlocked Particio, put him in my party. Now, Particio's the merchant, for those who haven't experienced the game yet. And then with Throne, the thief, I go and mug somebody, and it like initiated a conversation between the two where Particio's like, why are you doing that? Why wouldn't you just pay them? If they have something you want, why wouldn't you just pay them? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And Throne is like, I'm a thief.
That's another...
And he's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's another cool thing. So like the banter is more integrated to like what's going on around the world. And like, not saying that the first game wasn't, but I definitely noticed it more in this game, like with things like that. And it's like, oh, you know, that's actually really interesting. Okay, there's still, I'm not done. There's still more. So this game there were some changes to like the gameplay a little bit. Like the base gameplay is still Octopath, so like you have your boost mechanic, you have like your turns at the top, and then you can, depending on your speed and certain abilities, you can alter the turn order and things like that. There were a lot of moves that they kept with certain jobs in this game, but there were also like some that they took out and some new ones that they added. But a really nice mechanic in this game was the addition of what's called a latent power. So every character has a latent power ability and this latent power gauge. And so it's something exclusive to that character where, for example, if you're playing as Particio, his latent power is he fully boosts like all of his BP. And what's nice is he has an ability that can grant BP to other characters. So slam dunk, right? So Throne, like it allows her to take another turn, like 2 turns in succession. Agnia allows her support abilities to affect the whole party instead of just one person. So that was a nice addition because that it just made the characters more unique themselves, and not just that, but like in the first game, you can also in Octopath in general, you can pick up secondary jobs for your characters. So
which any character
Agnia
can
is your
any secondary job. It's not like blocked off.
So yes. Well, yeah. So no, you're correct on that, and I want to play off that because what's nice, you can make Hikari the warrior a dancer if you wanted to, like you really, and it would be hilarious. But what's the difference between this game and the first game? So like you have your dancer, but like you can also pick up a secondary job and make somebody else a dancer. In Octopath 1, there was only you can only pick up one of that type of secondary job. So you can only have there's only one secondary job per
license. They give you licenses, right? So
per job.
In Octopath 2, you can get 2 merchant licenses, and now 2 characters can also learn merchant per license.
Yeah. It wasn't the case in Octopath 1. You just had you found the hunter job as a secondary, and you can put that on any character you want, and you can mess around, but you can't have 4 hunters in your party in Octopath 1. In Octopath 2, you can, because you can pick up these licenses, which are you have to meet certain requirements to get more of that same job type, and you can run 4 warriors in your party if you really wanted to. You can't do that in the first game. What's nice is that's the big difference, but I do like that you can put the they're not restricted to anybody. You can put those classes on anybody and just kind of you can create your own play style. It was like that with the first game. It's just more, you have more freedom in this game because you have the opportunity to get more licenses of the same type. And also the outfits change with every character depending on the secondary they put on them. Cool. And that was in the first game. They did have that in the first game.
Particio and Arcanist was the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I have actually never seen his Arcanist outfit. I need to see that. But it's just a nice touch. I think it's really cool. Now there are 4 secret jobs in Octopath. It was the same in the first game, and it was the same in this game, where there's 4 special jobs. They did change those a little bit. In Octopath 2, where for example, in the first game, there's one called the Warmonger, and so it's that's the big strength one. So that's probably going to go under your warrior character. But the moves are vastly different. The fully boosted ultimate for that was you hit every single enemy in the battle with every single type of weapon. Now in this game you have what's called, I can't actually remember what it's called in this game, but it's it's not what the heck's it called in this game in Octopath 2? It's I don't know, not Beastmaster. It's something like Master. It's Warlord or War Master or something. I can't remember. But in this game, it's a little bit different, where you actually have to find very specific weapons throughout the game and bring them to this NPC, and they all do different things, and they all grant special abilities if you have them equipped with that specific job. So there's the secondary jobs changed a little bit. I think maybe the only thing that I liked a little bit more about Octopath 1 is I think I liked more of the secret jobs in Octopath 1 in this game, just because of like my play style. But yeah, that was the jobs, like the secret jobs are a little bit different. I'm trying to think of other, I know I've been talking for a while. I'm trying to think of other Arm Master, that might have been what it's called. Thank you, Eve. I'm trying to think of other differences. I think that's about all the big ones that I can think of. Yeah, that's about all the big ones that I can think of at the moment. But long story short, like, this game is such a huge upgrade from the first in pretty much every single way, even down to like the characters, the world, just everything about it. Even like different things that you can do with, path actions. Like path actions for pretty much are the same outside of like the extra nighttime stuff that you can do. But like for example, Hikari can learn. I can't remember if Oberg can learn skills when he challenges somebody. I don't think he does. But in Octopath 2, you can learn skills from NPCs when you challenge and beat them. I can't remember if you can do that with Oberg in the first game. I think you just challenge them and then like
maybe you
knock
get an
them
XP
out,
boost or
and
get some money, things like that.
Yeah. So like doing like challenging was a lot more worth it in this game because it was like, oh, like let's see like what I can learn from this guy if I beat him.
Well, that's what I liked, right? Like, and this is what makes it feel like such like an ultimate RPG is like whatever my current party was weak
There's so many play styles.
That's what I'm saying. And like whatever my party was weak in, it was overworld mechanics like that allowed me to like adjust in real time. You know, you come to a new town and, you know, an NPC could have just the ability you're looking for. You know, it's like, I wish I had more ice moves. Next thing you know, homie at the inn has an ice move. Like,
yep. That's how it be sometimes, honestly. That's how it be. There were like some abilities I wish they brought back from the first game, but I do like the new stuff that they did because it made me approach like, you know, I don't want the same exact abilities from the first game. I want to be able to approach battles with a different perspective and with like different tools and see what I can work with and see all the crazy things that I can do in this game.
Is that the whole list of OT1 and OT2? Is that the whole list? Okay,
no, there's one more thing that I completely forgot, but I think it's funny because it's like the best. It's like one of the best upgrades. And I think you were egging me on to talk about this. It slipped my mind. But so, in Octopath 1, after you finish all of the main story scenarios, that's kind of it. Like, there's side quests and stuff, but there's no, in this, I'm not going to, like, talk about, like, specific spoilers, but, like, in Octopath 1, there's no big final chapter that brings everybody together. Octopath 2, when you finish all of the main story scenarios and you do all of the the duo stories, like it's like Casti and Ochette, they have one, Hikari and Agnia, they have one. When you do all of those and very specific side quests that you have to do, there is a final chapter that brings everybody together, and it is like the peak of the game.
And not just everybody together, everybody's stories come together.
Everybody's stories come together, and as you play through that final chapter, like you'll see people that you were chill with, you know, in a certain person's story, and now they're like up there like scheming. It's like, oh, what the heck? Like, what? I thought you were cool, brother. Like, what's going on?
We will get into that once we hit the 1 hour mark. There was one particular turn where I was like, what? Like, yo, honestly, it's
Yeah,
one of those things.
I know exactly what we're talking about.
One,
yeah.
Dude, it's one of those things where I'm like,
yeah.
now I want to go back. And now that I know how all these stories connect, what was right under my nose,
you want to go look
time.
for all the details. Yeah. So this final chapter brings everyone's story together. It's a huge like grand finale, and it's just not. It's also just nice to just see. I think what made that so good for me was just seeing all the characters just interact with each other. That's not banter, and that's not like battle banter and things like that. Like, just to actually see them talk and hang out like by a campfire, and like just like, and then like catastrophe hits, and now they're working together, and they're incorporating their experience throughout the game to get through what is in front of them. And oh dude, I won't talk about the final boss that much, but I will say they do something with this final boss fight that they have not done in the first game. And I'll just leave you. I'll leave you at that. There? I'll leave you at that. It's a treat. It is a treat. And like, if you play it, like, you know how it goes, but it's a gameplay thing that they do, and it's specifically for the final boss. But it's nice because after the dust settles, there's like a nice moment at the end where like everybody kind of has something to say and something to contribute. And it ends with the character that you picked.
I wondered that. I wondered if that was a coincidence, or if that's how it
No,
goes.
that's how it is, because Throne was the last person to contribute.
For me, it was Hikari.
Yeah, I want to go back, and I want to actually go and watch like what all the other characters have to say, like what their final words are, because I never actually did. But it was like that moment where I was like, it came full circle. Like, you know, Throne might not have been my all-time favorite character. I love her. And I think, in my opinion, she has probably one of the best stories in the game. But like, even though she maybe wasn't my all-time favorite character, that moment was like, wow, this is something really special. Like, this is the character that I spent the most time with, because something that Octopath does is, and it was similar in the first game, whenever you pick a protagonist, you cannot swap them out of your party until you complete their story. And that was something that I kind of didn't like at first, but then as I was playing, I was like, you know what? It's kind of nice to have one character a little bit over leveled, because there are roadblocks that at least in the first game, I definitely hit. Not so much in this game, because they give you a lot more to work with in this game. But the first game, definitely, I hit some roadblocks in the main stories in the first game. And so it was nice to have that character that's a little more over leveled to kind of like carry you through some situations.
Yeah, for me, it was Hikari. And it's like, in a weird way, it sort of made him feel like the leader of the party, because he was kind of like carrying during some fights. He was always involved in every single. So like, it's sort of almost like you get to choose who's the unofficial party leader in the story.
Yeah,
like, that's ultimately what you're choosing. And I mean, look, like you said, the ending is customized to who you pick to be your starting character.
Yeah.
So,
which is so cool.
So cool, and such a nice touch. Such a nice touch. So let's, now that we've kind of compared the two, since we're kind of on the characters right now, who was your favorite character of the 8?
That's so hard, because I actually love all of them. Like, in the first game, there was like, you know, I liked all the characters. I don't even know if I could pick a favorite out of all the characters, because I didn't like love them, but I liked them. But in this game, it's like completely different. Like, I love all of them so much now I can't pick a favorite. You know what I mean? So I think I have to. I think Throne has the best story. That's my opinion. I think she has the craziest story out of all of them. She's definitely up there. I wouldn't say she's top 3 for me. I think, oh man, it boils down. Oh my, it's so hard. So it's between like, Oswald is definitely top 3. I don't know if he's my favorite, but he's up there. He might be, because I have a soft spot for like a father and the father-daughter relationship and like that whole thing. So like stories like that always get me. That's why in 7 Remake, Barrett was like one of my favorite characters in the remake because we got to see like that fleshed out. And an FF7 podcast, but just making comparisons. I'd say in terms overall, I'll be honest, I think I love Ochet. I love Ochet.
Ochet?
Yeah.
Respect.
I'd say Ochet, and I'm saying that overall in terms of not just her character, but also playing as her. She was also my favorite character to have in my party because I ran Ochet with the warrior job.
Starving.
Yeah, I ran Ochet with the warrior job as a secondary, and she was nuts. But yeah, she's just like funny. She's funny. She's unhinged. And she's just so like fun and energetic. She always kind of lightens the mood. She's voiced by the actress who voices Yuffie in 7 Remake. So that which is fun. But I think I don't know. Like Ochet is up there. I have like favorite characters, but for different reasons. Like Ochet is a favorite of mine because like she's fun, she's funny, she has nicknames for all the other characters, which is so funny.
Speaking of which, did you notice if a character has a title, Throne would always address them as that title? Like it was always Professor, Detective, Your Highness.
Yeah, detective.
Like, yeah. Whatever the title was, that's how she referred. Like, little things like that like color a character's personality. They do so much of that in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, and even just like the battle quotes, like she had her battle quotes were fun. Like her story was really good. Like I really enjoyed her story. Not my favorite story out of the 8. But like she always, her and again, like another character, Particio, they were the 2 characters that always brightened the mood, I felt like. Yeah. Her, Particio, and Agnia, I guess, too. And so, like, it's so hard. So I would say Ochet. Dude. Yeah, I would say Ochet is, I don't know if I'd say all time. She's one of my favorites. I think I'll do like a top 3. Ochet, Oswald, and I would say probably Hikari would be maybe my 3rd.
Samurai Simba.
Yeah, Samurai Simba.
Simba. More ways than one.
I love Oswald's story and like his, I guess just like how he handles what he goes through, and like Oswald I think has the best villain in the game. Like that you fight against. Like probably one of the best villains. In my opinion,
he's the guy I wanted to smack. So in terms of getting me to care about beating him, Oswald's villain got under my skin the most. I was like, I want to get, like, geez.
Yeah. So yeah, I really, and again, like I'm a sucker for the father-daughter relationship, and like his character like broke me, dude.
I was
like
say,
with the stuff that he went through.
You keep saying that. What? You know what? I'll save this question for after the hour mark instead of trending.
Sure. Save it. Yeah. I think I know what you're gonna talk about because that scene broke me.
Me too, dude. I was ruined.
Yeah,
I was ruined.
Yeah,
ruined.
We'll talk about it later. But I think, and maybe it's the Kingdom Hearts in me, but Hikari is like a top 3. There's a lot of like fight for my friends. He's battling like
the darkness,
inner darkness, and like all this stuff, and then like he has a really cool moment during his final boss fight where like things just kind of flip, and it's awesome. But he was fun. Like I felt like with him I was actually watching, like going through an anime, like some kind of like like I felt like I was just going through like some kind of crazy, like
it was anime meets Shakespeare.
Just some, that's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, dude, like
I love all 8 of them. I love all 8 of them. I'm with you there.
It's hard because it's like, dude, like I really like Cassie. I think Cassie is a little bit lower for me because, but I do love her character a lot. Particio is just fun. Temenos actually might be my number 4, funny enough, because dude, he's the cleric of the game, but he completely destroys. Yeah, he completely he like tears down stereotypes for cleric characters. Like you think of like your white mage, you think of like your Aeriths, right? You think of like your Garnets. Your you know, in Octopath 1, it was Ophelia, who's basically like she has Aerith's personality without some of like the unhinged stuff. Yeah, like she's very sweet. But Temenos is like, dude is like sarcastic, like cracks jokes, and he doubts everything. Like, and he questions everything. And like, it's hilarious because like he'll like, he had one of my favorite chapter 1s because it throws you off so much at the beginning, and then it's like, oh wait, no, this is actually what we're doing. And then like the way that he interacts with Crick is just like he says like, "Come, my wayward lamb," and Crick's like, "I am no lamb." Like it's great. Yeah, Temenos is hilarious. So like they all shine in their own way. It's hard to pick a favorite. It really is. Off the top of my head, those were my top 3. But I want to hear who your favorites were. I'm real curious.
I'll give you my top 3. I'm going to start with my honorable mention, who I think would be number 4, and that's Casty. Because I did thoroughly enjoy Casty's story. I think that archetype is a little overplayed by Square Enix, admittedly. You know, the person who they lost their memory and you'll spend the game getting their memory back. I get it. It always makes for an exciting narrative, but Square Enix, you've done it a million times. But you know what? I'm not complaining. Here I am saying she's one of my favorites. That said, the reason why I put her there, don't get me wrong, this game has a lot of genuine moments, a lot of happy, tragic, character building moments.
Yeah.
But I think the moment that hit me the hardest was at the, I won't say when it happens in her story, you'll know exactly when, but there's a moment in Casty's story where she goes to sleep. And I freaking cried. For Octopath Traveler Episode 4 Casty. We'll get fully into it then. But it just...
So wait, hang on. Are you confirming that there's an Octopod series that's going to happen in the Landy Lodge?
There's at least 4 of these characters I want to deep dive on. So the answer is yes.
You got to do all of them. Yep. Yeah, at that point, you might as well do all of them. Yeah. Awesome.
But I put Casty as my honorary mention, number 4. My number 3 is actually going to be the same as yours. Hikari is my number 3. I loved it. To me, it was like, I'm glad you brought up the Kingdom Hearts of it all, quote unquote. But now that I really think about it, it's literally like Lion King meets Kingdom Hearts. Hamlet meets Kingdom Hearts. You know, the king whose kingdom will be taken from him, and then he gets exiled, but then he must return and reclaim what's his. And we could talk about it another time, but
we can. And you know what's funny is we've seen that archetype, those stories so many times. But for me, they never get old. If they're done right, it never gets old. It's the reason why The Lion King is one of my favorite movies of all time to this day. It's a reason why I loved Hikari's story so much. It's a reason why, for me personally, I actually like FF15 a little more than FF16. That's a conversation for another day. But like, it's for me, it's things like that. It's like I've seen it so many times, but I never get sick of it. And when it's done well, it's done well, and it was done well in this game, if you ask me.
I would agree.
Yep.
I would agree. So like, I remember in the beginning of Hikari, like I picked him because I thought he had the coolest design. I've got a soft spot for samurai, so it was a layup. But I remember after like the first chapter or two, I was like, man, I've seen this 100 times. I don't know.
But then
when it ramps up in the second half, I'm like, I'm so on board for this. How could I have ever doubted this?
You're building up the army, and
Number 2, I'm gonna go Throne, because this is another. I mean, you talk about classic archetypes that I have a soft spot for.
Yeah.
Daughter of the Devil will get me every time. Every
yeah.
time. I don't care if it's Raven from DC Comics. I don't care if it's Ivy from Soul Calibur. I don't care if it's Throne from Octopath. I don't care. I'll keep going. Gets me every time. Love it. Number one.
She's got the best story in my opinion. It's nuts.
I would agree. Like, I would agree. If you're gonna
that was the story that made me. That was a story that made me drop my jaw the most with like what even like her. I think she has the best chapter 1 in the game as well.
I agree.
Like just that alone was a huge twist in itself, and I was like, whoa, like that's where like we could talk about that as well, like another time.
Hooked from the minute
Mm-hmm.
Throne's story started. In fact, Charlotte watched me play a lot of this game, but anytime there was anything Throne involved, she was like, I gotta see it. I gotta see what's going on. I gotta see what's going on.
yeah.
Like, that's the one she had to
also,
keep up
Erica Lindbeck voices her, so and she crushed it. Like
Throne? Really?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Yeah, Google it. Fact check me. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty. I remember looking up all the.
She usually just does her voice, and that's good enough.
Yeah.
1 second.
Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not. It's Erica Mendez. I got the Ericas mixed up. Erica Mendez.
I was like,
but still,
she transformed
a fantastic
her voice for that.
Yeah, I got my Ericas mixed up. That's on me. Still a great voice actor. So I know she's in a lot of stuff too.
She absolutely crushed it.
Yeah, and then absolutely amazing.
Number 1.
Oh, wait, can I guess?
You can guess.
Is it Particio?
Yeah, it's because I play his theme all the time. Dude,
yeah, he has the best theme. He has the best theme.
He has the best theme.
The jazz.
The jazz.
You get if
it captures him.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah.
I cannot tell you how much I love that character. How much I love that character. You would think
he's got the most passion out of any of the characters in the whole game.
And I enjoy how pivotal his particular passion was. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I love how important that passion was for a pivotal moment in the game for a pivotal character. Anyway, more on that.
Yeah.
That said, Particio to me was just like this infectious character that like I wanted to see how everyone reacted to him. Everyone reacted to him in different ways. The side. Yeah. Oh, another honorary mention is Oswald. God, it's hard to leave Oswald on this list. All
the characters are great. It's hard. It's so hard.
Anyone off this list. But with Particio, it was just like you wouldn't expect the merchant to go so hard in an RPG. But hard. Like
that's kind of how it was in Octopath 1 for me, because Tressa is the merchant in the first game, and she's kind of similar to Particio a little bit, but she was like one of my favorite characters in the first game. Like she's a lot like she's like a mix of like Particio and Ochette. That's the merchant of the first game, I would say. A lot of fun. Lots of fun. The merchants have always been fun. Yeah.
But I will say, like, with Particio, just the to show like it's not something I think people think about often, because it's not as whimsical and fun as like darkness and dragons and war and but like the good
dude
and evil
is trying to is trying to like poverty is the villain.
Poverty
like
is
he's trying. Yeah, he's like, I just want people to prosper. Like, and I want to do what I can to do that. His story
it shows just like everything else, right? Just like everything else, being a merchant, like again, and they talk about it pretty on the nose in the game, but like pretty much with Particio, it shows you that like capitalism is just like a sword. It could be wielded for good. It could be wielded for evil. It depends who's wielding the sword. The sword itself is not good or evil. It's a matter of its wielder. And Particio, as the merchant, shows you the same thing applies in commerce. A good merchant will bring prosperity and end poverty, but a bad merchant will bring disordinance and poverty. It's just so good. Like, you don't think of fucking, pardon my French, but commerce as a weapon that can be used as good and evil, but it shows you it's just as mighty as the sword. It's so smart, and you wouldn't expect it from these whimsical, fantastical RPGs, but to just fit that in and make Partitio the whimsical part of it is just so clever and so smart. God, I love this character. I love him.
Yeah. And that speaks to the diversity of this game. How, not just like in the characters, but like in the stories, like the different things that they like are fighting against. Like, you go from in 30 minutes you can maybe end poverty, and then like in the next and then maybe an hour later you're going to you're trying to get your daughter back. So it goes from huge world issues to now it's incredibly personal. So you're all over the place with these stories. And I think that really speaks to the diversity of this game. I think this game, and the first game was definitely diverse, but this game, I think, on a much wider spectrum. There wasn't anything the first game. It was more the stories were good, but they were kind of cliche at times, nothing crazy. But like I said, the game is so diverse, and it's very strongly diverse. Every time I did Partitios, and it's funny because Partitio was one of the last people I picked up, and whenever I first started his story, I was kind of this character's fun, but I don't know, he's probably my least favorite right now. I kind of feel it's more attached to some of these other ones. But then, just some of the stuff he would say, and then, his energy is contagious. And I'm wow, I love this guy. I love it. I want to be this guy's friend, dude. But also, he was the perfect palate cleanser. To kind of take a step back from all the intense stuff that's happening in some Throde's story, Oswald's story, Hikari's. Taking a step back from some of that stuff, him and Agnia, I would say, they were the characters who were this is such a nice change of pace. Or Partitio.
She's a ray of
oh my gosh, I love her. I want to give her a hug. I want all the best things for her, man. I just want all the best things for her. She's so sweet. She's so wholesome. She's the most wholesome.
My favorite thing before every ruinous kick. Forgive me. Right before a break, if you get a break, it's forgive me. Boom. It's just
I love so her nighttime path action is literally people just give you things. So because she just it's not so it's a little bit different. The dancer in this game is vastly different from the dancer in the first game. Primrose is she's more Agnia has the super, I guess that's a difference we can talk about some of the characters without spoiling too much. Agnia, her story is super wholesome. She's writing a song, and she wants to just be she just wants to dance, and she wants to follow in her mother's footsteps and just dance and make people happy with her dance. Primrose, I won't spoil it, but she's it's the exact opposite. She's on horrible things happen to her, and she uses her seductiveness as a dancer to basically get revenge on. So she's the Oswald, in terms of story, completely different. Primrose, she's a great character, but I loved Agnia so much in this game. I'm trying to. Those are probably, in terms of the differences between characters, I'd say those two, the dancers, are definitely from Octopath 1 and 2, are definitely the two that are okay, the dancers and the scholars, because Cyrus in the first game is very much, he has that Particio energy. So he's very much kind of like that, whereas Oswald is like stone cold, like I'm going to kill you. You know, like that's like the kind of vibe. But yeah, Agnia, she was a delight. I think she was one of the last stories that I know. Yeah, Agnia and Hikari were the two last ones that I finished. I ship those two hard.
The game ships those too hard.
The game ships them. Yeah, it definitely does. And like, I see it. I'm like, this is perfect. Like, they're perfect together.
Well, that's why I like that you made Hikari a dancer, because now my canon is that Agnia taught him.
Well, no, I almost did. I didn't actually make. I thought about it. I thought it would be funny. Temenos was actually my dancer.
Temenos.
Yeah. Yeah, so he was like healing, but he was also like buffing every now and then, you know. So he was actually a great.
I made Throne my second dancer.
Hey, Throne, she was my hunter because I ran Thief Hunter in the first game and that worked really, really well for me. Because like you can, especially with Throne's latent power, you can like leg hold trap a boss and make them act at the end of their turn. And if you use your latent power, I can also.
I'm glad you told me to do that on the final boss. I am so glad you told me to do that on the final boss.
Oh, that's the best. That is the leg hold trap. Got me through like every boss fight. Because it's a move, and they have that move in the first game, and they brought it back for this game, which I'm glad. But it allows you, like, let's say, like, the boss is going to take, like, you know, he's going to take, like, 2 turns in a row, and it's like you have, like, maybe your 2 characters that are going to go, and then the boss is going to take 2 turns in a row, but the boss just buffed himself. And so it's like, okay, let me use leg hold trap, make him go last, and maybe I can break his guard and then get it. That's the other thing we didn't talk about with the gameplay. Like, and that's a big thing in Octopath, but like exploiting weaknesses and breaking their shields gives you a free turn to just deal as much damage as possible, which is like so satisfying and so fun. They had that in the first game. It's kind of like a base like Octopath thing at this point, but oh my gosh, it's another reason why like this game is so satisfying, you know. So
it's, you know, before we get into spoilers, because it's almost an hour if you can believe it.
Wow.
Yeah.
yeah.
This is my favorite turn-based combat of all time. I've thought about it because Persona 5 for me, I thought Persona 5 was going to hold that crown forever. The way
but so is this the new gold standard?
Not because you were like not for RPGs, not for RPGs, but for turn-based combat. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Because this has everything. It's the stagger mechanic, transformations, special moves, a charging mechanic with the BP. Rotating classes. Like you could pretty much make, you know, everybody has their base class, like, but then you choose the secondary class. All these things, man.
I love that they do this because the same studio made Triangle Strategy as well, which like is in like that Octopath engine. It's real. Oh, dude, it's probably my favorite like tactical RPG out there right now.
Yeah.
Because it has Octopath elements in it. It doesn't have like there's not like a boost mechanic, but they have like in Triangle Strategy there's like they have like it's called TP instead of BP. It's like tactical points instead of boost points, and it allows you build them up over turns like BP, and you spend certain amount of TP on specific moves, and each character has specific moves. And what I love about these games is I love that other RPGs do this too, but I love that like your speed stat is actually super important. Like your speed stat can actually alter the outcome of certain fights. For example, Throne's Aber's Reckoning, which is her fully boosted ultimate, that attack scales off of her speed. So if like literally what I did was I just gave her like everything with speed on it.
Me too.
And then just And like it's funny because I'm going through like my characters and equipment, and it's like, okay, Particio like 200 some speed. You know, Hikari's a little bit slower, like 180, 190. Then I get the Throne 800 base speed, and I'm but she has multiple attacks where like her surprise attack, like it's there's moves that are very, very specific. So it's like this attack will deal more damage depending on how early she takes her turn in that rotation. So if she goes first and you use surprise attack fully boosted, you are gonna do so much damage.
It's one of those
I love
stuff. The whole game.
Yeah. I love stuff like that. I love that speed. Yeah. Yeah.
For those
yeah,
reasons.
they're great. I had, oh gosh, I was always alternating. Like I always had either like Casti or Temenos because those are like my two healers. So I'm always just swapping between the two. But I think actually at a time, I actually had Apothecary on Hikari because, whenever you would do challenges 1v1, it's just 1v1, so you can actually heal while you're 1v1ing, and it helped me go through so many like duels, like whenever I'm just grabbing like skills and stuff. So I ran that for a while, and then I got like the Hikari class, which is one of, I don't even remember, the Arm Master is what it's called. That's like his best class essentially. Where was I going with that? Gameplay, it's I would say it's up there with Persona 5 for me in terms of like one of my favorite turn-based systems in a JRPG.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's close for me.
It's
but
up there.
I think it's just one of those things where like it almost felt like, wait, did we just get a YouTube raid? I didn't even know. Yeah, Prodigy just raided us on YouTube.
Wait, are YouTube raids a thing?
I think so. I didn't even know, but like I just got a notification.
I didn't know either. I don't know how to do that.
Maybe we're bugging. Prodigy, is that you? Are you really here? Or are we bugging?
Welcome on in.
Yeah. Get in here.
I'm gonna have to look into that. Yeah. Cool.
There's a learn
what were you saying?
I should press it.
Maybe we should press it. Yeah. Press the button.
Yeah,
push the button.
He's here. That really happened. He's really here. Well, everyone, make sure you
That's
follow
so funny.
Prodigy. You know, I know we got a lot of Kingdom Hearts fans on this channel. If you're looking for some of the best content in the Kingdom Hearts community, Prodigy's got you covered. Thanks for the raid, dude. And welcome, Raiders.
Talking some Octopath, so if that's your thing, hey man, stick around. This is one of the best games that came out of 2023.
Easily,
in my opinion.
That's what we've been talking about the whole time, basically. We are actually about to go into crazy Octopath spoilers, but if you like Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy, Octopath, and Square Enix stuff, I'm basically a Square Enix shill. So come on and subscribe, join the shill army, and we'll talk. I'm
telling y'all, and I'll speak for the lodge as well. Like these are the best Kingdom Hearts podcasts to listen to. So if you're looking for Kingdom Hearts content, this is the place to come. He's live all the time doing these KH podcasts, and they're bumping, dude. Like, so this is the place to be. The Landy Lodge is the place to be.
Andy, you're so much better at that than I am. I think I'm just gonna clip you and just like run that whenever I get a raid.
Dude, can I be your mascot? Like, are you
spokesperson?
No, I'm kidding.
We're gonna use professional terms here. You're not putting on a costume.
Yeah.
Spokesperson.
Yeah. I'll take it.
Well,
I'll take it.
You have to burn the lodge. It has to be you at the end of the day.
I know. It's prophetic at this point. Like, it will happen. You know. So
all right. So look,
there.
let's let me pin a chat. I'm gonna put Endgame spoilers incoming, just in case someone jumps in here.
Yeah, Octopath is peak. We have been gushing about Octopath 2 for an hour. I can't believe it's been an hour.
Dude.
Yeah.
to go over. I don't even know. Anyway, so look, we don't have...
It's in the chat, so it's good.
We don't have all night, but I feel like, do we want to talk about the general endgame as opposed to maybe some of the characters endgames? Because if we're going to do character endgames, we're going to be here till midnight.
Sure. Yeah. We can maybe highlight a couple characters, but yeah, the general endgame, that sounds good. Because again, like Octopath 1 did not have like, you have like a secret boss that you can fight. but like there's no final chapter. Like it's just when you're done, you're kind of done, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. Do you want to kick it off? Because
Okay,
there's a lot of things we can talk about with the end game.
so let's. I actually the most to talk about the entire end game is also worth a podcast in itself. But
Sure. Yeah.
let's talk about the thing that I know shocked me the most was
Yeah.
Ori, the scribe, and then finding her
Yeah.
writings on the floor and then picking up. So again, knowing Ori was also such a great character, just the journalist who's
She's
like,
a good side character.
she's writing
Yeah.
everything down. She's like, yeah, somebody in this world would exist. How come in RPGs there aren't just like journalists like, hey, you're the guys going around slaying gods. Can I talk to you for a minute? Like, I got papers to sell. So I felt like having that character was just amazing. But with that said,
Yeah.
the way it connected everything, and in particular, I guess just to talk about my boy Particio for a minute, it broke my heart momentarily because I shipped Ori and Particio so hard. I was like, these two are perfect. Oh, she adores him. I want this to go down. And then to find out that like she was planning on betraying everyone, I was like, no, you were faking it. But then you find out that
she's gathering all the stories. Right.
But then you find out she had a genuine love and affection for Particio. And then when she tried to become the vessel, it failed because she was thinking about Particio. And I was like, yes, love wins.
Yeah, like, that was
ridiculous,
hard to get through because I'm typically not someone who like I don't really particularly love like the journalist reporter characters because they're always the same in every game. Like they're always the same. But that moment broke me, especially whenever like she was going to be. Yeah, because that moment, because it was so unexpected, but also it was just heartbreaking, you know, and like, also with oh gosh, why am I blanking on his name? But the eagle, the in Hikari's route, you know who I'm talking about? I'm blanking on his name right now. But I thought that dude was a homie, and then that dude ended up playing everyone, and I'm like, brother, like
4D chess.
Yeah, and so that's another character where I'm like, okay, I want to go back and actually like kind of go through Hikari's story again specifically to see those moments.
He does give him, and the only reason I actually suspected him the whole time, because I was like, this is Samurai Simba. This is some Hamlet Shakespearean stuff going on. I'm like,
there's always the evil uncle somewhere. Evil uncle. Sure. Yeah.
I was like, I'm waiting for it. I was like, oh, he's got the connections. He's got the money. I'm like, something's going on here. But it to me, it was, even though you could in theory see it coming, if you recognize the archetype, it still kind of was a big moment because I didn't want it to be true. You know what I mean? Like, I had my suspicions, but I wanted to be wrong. Kazan, that's his name. Because, like you said, Kazan is a homie. He's a homie. Let's have a drink. He bails you out of trouble. He helps you win the kingdom.
Yeah, back. and he's the one that like is orchestrating the the whole uprising like with Hikari. So it's like, dude is like. I was like, oh, that's my man. And then to find out that like, oh, he was also trying to like basically bring, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Vide or Vide. I can't remember. Like he was also trying to like bring that into the, it's like, bro, like, wait, like I would have never like recognizing the archetype of like, okay, where's the evil uncle? Like in this Lion King story. I just didn't even think about it. I was like, but then when it happened, I was like, of course, you know? Yeah. So that
got me.
That was a moment. I think we talked about this a little bit earlier, but like, I mean, we can lead up to the final, we can talk about the final boss fight too, but like, gosh, just the interactions, like seeing the characters actually interact with each other and it's voice acted and all the stories coming together. So like in the first game, like whenever you get, there's a lot of like lore in the first game where it actually the first game actually does connect the stories, but it's so like it's you have to like look for it. It's like in the lore. It's in even like in like the secret boss, like there's a lot of lore stuff with that specifically, where like there's all like the all the jobs are they all have like these like crazy abilities, and they derive from like these like gods essentially. Elfric, um Elephant. I'm just naming a couple off the top of my head. Doter, right? They're all and like they all had a part in like kind of forming what is the world of Octopath. But then there's always the Ifrit. There's always the Lucifer. There's always that one, right, who falls from grace and is like that's like the evil one. And so that's essentially the secret boss of Octopath is, and it's this it's like the I'm shaky on the lore with Galdera, but Galdera actually was a big part in like forming the world, and but it's like there's a lot of like twists, like that's like the one that's fallen from grace essentially. And again, I'm shaky on like Galdera lore and like the lore with like the gods and stuff, but there's always like something like that. I feel like with like these JRPGs, and so there is lore, and even like there is one of the main the scholar in the first game, his story, I won't spoil anything, but essentially he's looking for like this book, and they actually reference it in Octopath 2. It's called From the Far Reaches of Hell. That is the book. It's referenced in a side quest in this game, but he's looking for like this book, and this book's supposed to hold like these super dark secrets of like like about like the lore and the gods and like the creation of the world and stuff like that. And then like you kind of find out like they don't really tell you too much in Octopath 1, but like if you pay attention to like little details, it does all kind of connect, and that's kind of where like the secret boss kind of comes in. And you can kind of see like even just like the lore intertwined with the stories a little bit as well if you're paying attention. It's more kind of like they make it more a little more digestible in this game in comparison to the first game, but there's definitely an iceberg to go down that I'm not super well versed in like the nitty-gritty of Octopath lore, but there is definitely an iceberg there, and they kind of like play around with like a lot of that stuff. So yeah, the final chapter was great in this game. Can we talk about the final fight, because it does something different that hasn't been done in that wasn't done in the first game. It at one point in the fight, it allows you to actually have control, kind of, not like fully, but allows you to actually have control of all 8 characters in your party.
Loved it. I love when any game can do that.
Yeah, and so like it's now not like I don't say fully, because the characters are paired with like there's like side story characters, so it's like you had Cassie and Ochette, so you can't just have like Cassie go and then Ochette go. You could switch between the two of them, like the pairs. Like you could switch between Ikari and Agnia, and I was like blown away, because that was something I was like, you know what? I thought this would be really cool to do. Like, just give me all 8 characters. I don't need it for the whole game, just for one boss fight. Like, just let me control all 8 of them. And it was for the final fight, and I was like,
and the final phase, the third phase. It's the third and final phase of that boss.
It's the third phase of the fight, yep. And that was like a moment where I was like, yes, like this is peak Octopath. Now with the secret boss, and it's the same with Octopath 2, because it's the same secret boss, it's just different and a lot harder in my opinion. But it's you split your party. So like you have one party for phase 1, and then you have one party for phase 2. But you have to kind of just that's how it is. But for this final chapter, for that final phase, you get everybody, and it really feels like it's peak Octopath. Like yes. It really is. Like it's like this is what this was the moment that I wanted in the first game.
Not only that, the boss fight itself is tremendous too.
It's just,
the
for sure.
Atmosphere, the feeling, the music, and just the boss structure too, right? It doesn't reinvent the wheel. It's pretty standard. You have the lesser parts you got to take out to get to the main part. You know, it follows the same formula it did the whole game. But like you said, to make it peak at the end in such a way was like, and again, all bets are off. All bets are off in that fight. Like, and I'll say, like, you can't, what I like about Octopath 2 is like, you can grind and level yourself up to make it easier, but if you don't have a compatible strategy, it doesn't even matter if you're level 99. It does not matter. You need a good strategy.
Like levels.
I was gonna say, you can't firepower your way through the final boss. I tried. Believe me, I tried.
Levels in Endgame for Octopath mean almost nothing. It will not matter because, and I actually didn't struggle too much with the V-Day fight, but I attempted Galdera in this game. I fought Galdera for 4 hours and I barely scratched phase 1. So in the first game, the reason why Galdera was really hard was not because it wasn't, the fight itself is really hard, but it was more so leading up to it. In the first game, and this was awful that they did this, you go through what I call the Octo Gauntlet before you have to fight the final boss. So you have to fight, before fighting Galdera, in a row, you have to fight 8 bosses that you've seen throughout the game, like throughout like people's stories, just to get to Galdera. And guess what happens if you die to Galdera? There's no saving. You got to start all the way over. You got to fight through them all again. It was a nightmare.
Brutal.
An actual...
Brutal.
Yeah. Now, I think maybe it's because I had like more, like a better strategy with like my characters, but like the bosses in the Octogauntlet didn't seem as difficult as they were in their like actual stories. But again, like I had like all the secret jobs, like I had like a strategy, like there's a class called Rune Lord in the first game where like you can use this move that allows like your move or like that. It's basically like Agnia's latent power. It allows moves to kind of, like her support stuff to affect everybody. But it's like any move that buffs or whatever can affect everybody. And so I put that on my merchant and I would like use that, and then I would use sidestep so that everybody had sidestep and everybody was guaranteed to like dodge like a few attacks.
It was the final
that is something
ingredient. It was the final missing ingredient. I think I texted you about it too. I was like, I need something to dodge this dude's attacks.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that was a godsend in the first game. This game, it's like, dude, you need to go in for for Galdera specifically. You need to go in with a very specific strategy and a very specific party, and you have to have like some of the best equipment. You have to be set up perfectly. Mm-hmm. Like I couldn't scratch the surface of phase 1. Like phase 1. Like the core part of the boss has 600,000 HP. 600,000. It's insane. It's definitely a JRPG secret boss, right? It definitely is. So I'm still working on that. I haven't really found the strategy for that yet, but it's
insane.
The end game fights in Octopath are no joke, but they are incredibly rewarding. Like just not even in like what you get after, but just in the fact that like I can't believe I even pulled this off. In the first game, you actually get an accessory that just disables encounters completely. Really? So you just roam around the world. If you know, like, it's kind of nice if you're like trying to find all the
Like
chests and
treasure
stuff.
hunting
It's
or
like, I don't have
something.
to
Yeah.
like, yeah, because it's like, why would I need to encounter things when I just beat the hardest thing in the game? Like, I could just,
True.
so it makes sense. But yeah, so there aside, the end game, the V-Day, the V-Day vibe, whatever you call them, that fight was peak Octopath for me. And then for them to conclude with like everybody kind of coming together and then everybody kind of like saying their 2 cents, and then to end with like the character that you picked, and then like the final screen with like the art with all of them like, thank you for traveling with us, dude. I cried, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I was like,
or as
I
Temino
can't
said,
believe like the journey. Yes, like, I can't believe like the journey that I just went on. That's the beauty of Octopath Traveler. It's the journey that these characters take you on, and the final chapter was so.
Well, it was
so perfect.
It felt very meta at the end, where all the characters were like, "But I don't want this to end. I was having fun.
Yeah.
I kind of like hanging out with you guys. I like when we're all together." And it was just like, "Yeah, you're speaking for me right now. All of you are speaking for me right now. Even though I'm proud that I beat this boss, I'm kind of sad that like I don't have a reason to bring you all together right now. You know." I don't have a banner to unite all these travelers.
That's why, like, if they ever make an Octopath 3, which I think they will,
they will,
because this game is already starting to. It hasn't sold better yet than Octopath 1, but it's already starting to. Gosh, I'd be down for like
DLC. I would take DLC for this game.
I'll absolutely take DLC. I'd be down. I'd be down for an Octopath crossover. Like, they do something. I haven't played the mobile game, Champions of the Continent, but yeah, go ahead.
Because since you brought up crossover, we do have a question from Eve, who says, "I don't think it would happen, but does anyone else think Viday would fit well into Kingdom Hearts since its shadow power is similar in some ways?"
Yeah. I think, like, so here's the thing, like, dude, the pipe dream would, like, dude, in Kingdom Hearts 4, give me an Octopath world. That would never happen. But, like, I actually think that you can maybe see the characters, like, make an appearance. Like, I was joking earlier. We were joking in the pre-roll, but I was, like, joking, like, dude, like, give me Agnia dancing at a jazz club in Quadratum. I'll cry.
I'll do you one better.
That's all I need.
I'll do you one better.
Yeah. Go for, please.
At Game Central Station, this is one of the worlds you can visit. And it transfers Sora into a pixel art. And like maybe there's just some mini games or little adventures that you could do in there.
Yeah.
It's almost like a mini game.
That would be great.
Wouldn't that be nuts?
That would be great. I think V-Day would work well as like if you put Octopath the Kingdom Hearts, that would be a good fight to do, because it's literally just like an embodiment of darkness. Like, that's what it is.
Viday seems to me what you would get if all 13 Darknesses had one vessel. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So I think, to answer that question, like, I think that would be a great, like, Kingdom Hearts moment. And, like, again, like, some of these characters are very Kingdom Heartsy. Hikari is the most obvious one out of all of them. I fight for my friends, you know. Agnia, your wholesome character. Like, it would just be cool to see Sora interact with these characters, you know. McDuck. Oh my, Particio and Scrooge McDuck. I never thought I needed something so bad until you just said that. And it's perfect. It's so perfect. So yes, Octopath for Kingdom Hearts, absolutely. Into it. Yeah, but I'm into it. Honestly, dude, it's like I almost wondered. I could see throughout the game the little ways the story's intertwined. Like, I saw a little bit of that, but the way it so smoothly came together in that end game is what I was really impressed with. Like, I thought, I was like, okay, how are they gonna work this? How are they gonna convince me? It all flew under one banner. But just reading all of Ori's reports, those alone, I was like, oh my God. Like, this was so well thought out and so well hidden from the player. That's the thing that impressed me. And it was
so important to have a character like that in this game, specifically like a journalist. Like, what better character to like do that for you than a character who's like getting the scoop on everybody and like everything that's going on? You know, that's the end game was pretty much perfect in my opinion. Like not perfect, but pretty much. Like it's up there.
It's what you want.
It's what you want from an end game where you've traveled with these characters for like dozens and dozens and dozens of like probably about almost like 90 hours at this point, 100 hours. Yeah, and to have that moment at the end was awesome. Yeah. Just the whole end game was fantastic.
What did you think of Claude and the whole way Thrones thing ended? Because I'll say I was shocked because I recognized, and this is where, and they did this particularly with Ochette and Throne, where they'll throw the archetype at you, and right away I'm like, daughter of the devil, and then you had mother and father. I'm like, so on the nose. But the father wasn't the devil. Claude
was not the it was this Claude guy who
it goes so
deep. That's why her story is, in my opinion, the nuttiest out of all of them, because like you're introduced at the beginning. It's like, okay, you have she's been adopted into this guild and this cult, right? And like she wants to break out. And they're literally like, dude, there are like people killing each other in this cult to see who's going to be the next mother, father, the next master, right? Who's going to be the next one in charge. And for them, I actually like started to get really attached to Piero, who's like one of Throne's like closest friends in chapter 1, but he ends up being the first boss fight. Like, it takes such a turn where like it's like, okay, you know, maybe we can get out of this, but then like you go to the mansion and you're like, who's killing all these people? And then you see, I can't remember the other guy's name, but like I think he ended up dying. And then because Peter was the one who killed him, and then you're fighting one of your only friends, because it's like, well, this is just the way it is. You know, somebody has to come up on top. And I think it just hit me so much because that was my first chapter in the whole game, because I picked Throne. And so to start off like that, I'm like, dang, dude, like this is how we're starting off. And to even go as like, oh, dude, I hated Mother, right? And I hated Father too, but he was a very interesting character.
I hate it, but I ended up really feeling for him.
You end up feeling for him because dude, he actually cared.
He was denied
about her.
He ever wanted. That's the tragedy.
Yeah.
He was denied everything he ever wanted.
There's so many twists and turns in her story, like even down to like you know, you actually like even like down to like her real father and like her story. That's one story that I can't. If I ever go back to this game, like I'm definitely like I can't wait to play again, because like it just every chapter took me somewhere different. Where like you think you know about Throne and like everything about her, and then it's like they throw in like more about her parents and like who's her real mother, and then he goes all the way to this Claude guy who's like, oh yeah, like you know, like we created you, and it's like, what the freak, like dude, like yeah, it was. I think her story was like as JRPG as it got for me, because it was like there's always like that one person in the background at the very end who's pulling the strings. Mm-hmm. It's never who you think it is, right? Like there's always like that one, like he wasn't like a divine figure, but like he was the figure that was like
he was like
pulling,
almost demon in the flesh, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, honestly he's like a vampire. You know, the immortal, very pale, lives in like a dark tower, like had a big vampire vibe to him.
Yep.
Which
yeah.
Like,
so
I love the overlap of basically all of this from top down, from Claude to father to mother, everything they put Throne through was basically breeding her to not only be the next leader of that cult, the Black Snakes, that was it, right?
Yeah.
The Black Snakes. Not only to be the leader of that cult, but Viday had a stock in it. Like, that could be a vessel. That could be a vessel. You know, it makes sense. It's like, why would this, you know, in theory,
if they would have, that would have been wild. If they would have, like, if there would have been a moment where, like, you know, don't kill off any of the main characters, but if there would have been a moment where, like, because out of all of them, it would have been her. I would say her, maybe Oz. Well, not at the end.
Right.
Well, but then he has like that. He reconciles. He like it's like that. He has like the lights of radiance now. So maybe at a time but Throne would have been definitely the number one pick in the end game. It would have been nuts to even just like if Viday tried to like take like inject part of himself in her, and you actually had to fight her, and she had like all her stats and all of her equipment and everything that you had on her, and like you don't kill her, but it's like it's that moment where it's like this is getting real. Like I gotta fight one of like my own right now. Like that would have been nuts for sure. Dude, we gotta talk about Oswald, bro. We have to talk about
Harvey. I've never wanted to freaking kill a character more than Harvey. And dude, we touched on it earlier in the episode, but dude, when the daughter shows up and she's calling Harvey daddy, and like Oswald's just left sitting there, he just killed his wife's dead corpse, basically, not her actual corpse, but something that was rebuilt from her corpse, and like it's just like, oh, it was like, I want Harvey's head. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, that hurt me. So I've never. That was the one story where I've never felt more motivated to actually like fight a boss fight in that game than fighting Harvey. Because like, dude takes everything from him. Dude takes his family. Dude takes his work. Like he takes everything, and then frames him for kill. Like that's what's crazy is like Oswald is like. You start off Oswald's story. It's the only story that you have to complete chapter 1 and 2 back to back before you can continue. He starts off in prison, and it's like, what happened to this guy? Like, how did we get here? You find out he was framed for everything, and now he's on this quest for vengeance. And dude, like to even like. Because, like, I think there was even a point where, like, he didn't even know if his daughter was alive, you know? Like, and then, like, he sees her, he finds her, and then, like, she's calling Harvey daddy. It's like, dude, like, you literally, the chapter before, like you said, you just killed what was basically your wife, like, or, like, what was left of your wife that Harvey brought back as an experiment. Yeah, like, dude. Oh, dude, it was.
It's just that like got me. We were talking about commerce with Particio.
Yeah.
Science can be wielded for the most heinous things and the most beautiful things.
Yeah.
It comes down to, are you an Oswald or are you a Harvey? You know?
Yeah.
Are you a Mr. I actually loved Particio?
Yeah. We can talk about that too.
All of their stories come down to that, like Apothecary, right? It was Casti who wielded it for good.
I can't remember the guy's name, but like the other guy who went crazy. Yeah. I mean, Ochet. There wasn't really anything like that with Ochet that I can think of.
With Ochet, it's the partner you pick.
Yeah.
Because Ochet's story that was idea that like nature is benevolent and only humans are like flawed. But what you learn is the partner that you denied, you created this darkness. Nature itself can be corrupted by darkness. Like, good. So good.
Yeah, even like Agnia, like with like I don't it starts with a D. I can't pronounce the lady's name, but like
Dulcinea.
That's it. It's such a fun name. Yeah, like you're dancing because like you like I'm passionate about this. I want to make people smile, like not really for the fame, or like you're doing it for the fame and like you're kind of selfish and like every character has that. And like I loved actually how Oswald's story ends, because it's like it's kind of bittersweet in the sense where like you don't actually see him have that moment with his daughter because his daughter is unconscious, I believe, after everything happens. But he's like kind of just like sitting over her and like, he's there for her, but then he has to leave and because like he's not done. And I kind of love what you said. It was like, did you see going to help the other travelers? Because like that's my headcanon. Like he's going to help the other travelers. Like he has more research to do. And I kind of just loved how bittersweet his story's ending was. Like he got his most prized possession back, which was his daughter, but didn't have that moment with her. But like, he knows that she's safe and there's still things that he has to go do. And like, yeah. So that one was good. I'm sure you want to talk about Partitio's. Dude, okay. Partitio had the most hilarious final boss fight because you're fighting a train.
Yes.
You're fighting a train, yes. And I loved it. It was the most out of pocket. Dude, like, it was the most out of pocket. You know what's funny? Because whenever you're in these fights, yeah, you have your party with you.
Can I correct you? You weren't quite fighting a train. You were fighting the power of the steam engine through the train.
Yeah, it resembled the train. I know what you mean, but you were fighting. I get it. The commerce, right? You're fighting against this dude who is again using his commerce for selfish reasons. But it's what's always hilarious to me is when you really think about it, because you have everybody in your party, but canonically it's just Oswald versus Harvey. Canonically, it's Ochette versus the other animal. Canonically, it's Throne versus Claude. Canonically, it's Partitio going in, fist swinging against the steam engine. Like, that is hilarious to me. That's so funny to me when you think about it. Like, it's great. It's great. That fight, I cheesed the heck out of that fight because that was the fight where I was like, I'm Partitio, baby. I'm just gonna hired help my way through this whole fight. And it was one of the easiest bosses in the game for me. Because I was just like, oh yeah, steam engine's done. Like, it's a wrap. Like, you take away all the moving parts, and it's perfect. Because it's also perfect too, because every boss that you fight with that specific character, they're always going to be weak to something that character has in their kit. So like that's also something that I love. That's like, so it's encouraged. Like, I mean, you're obviously forced to use that character, but it's encouraged to like really build your strategy around that character for their fight specifically. Because there's always going to be something in their kit that's going to be the kink in the armor. Yeah, that fight was so fun. That was one of the most memorable fights for her, just because I was like thinking about it. I was like, this is so ridiculous and I love it. Like, it's ridiculous and I love it. And I love that Rock, he has a change of heart at the end. Like,
but only Partitio.
And that's the effect. Yeah, Partitio, in my opinion, is like the Sora character in that game.
Yep.
Like, only Sora can do that to people. Only Sora could, make Xehanort say, "Very well done.
Very well.
I accept defeat."
And not only that,
The
thing I loved so much about him is that along the whole way he admired Mr. Rock. Like, everything that he never let Mr. Rock's how do I put this? He never let Mr. Rock's corrupt practices diminish his appreciation for the accomplishments.
Yeah.
Like he
because I mean, he grew up. He grew up with him and around him. Like Partitio's dad and Mr. Rock were tight.
Yeah.
And so like he's basically like part of the family. And like he's somebody that he looked up to, and like that's again, he's got one of like. His story is such a palate cleanser compared to all the other stuff that you deal with in the game because it is so like it's so heartwarming in the end.
Shopping mall with Partitio, you get to invent the shopping.
Yeah. Like, and I love too, like, so there was a whole like Yeah, just like even like there was like those side quests that were very specific to Particio where you had to get enough money to
Get
like
the
you had to
boat.
get
Yeah.
like enough money to get the boat, and then when you got the boat, like you didn't have to, but like when you got the boat, that I mean actually you would have had to at some point because you have to go to Rock Island. But when you get the boat, it unlocks like that's
All these
another thing that
others.
wasn't in Octopath 1. There was no like there was no boat, like there was no like sea area in Octopath 1, like you're just traversing the land. This game, you actually get a boat and there's islands you can explore, and then there's like specific enemies. There's even a whole optional boss fight in the
Hmm.
whirlpool spot, and that leads you actually to the gates of Finis, which is where Galdera is, like, and where and then there's I think that's where the Arcanist secret job actually is. It's like one of the secret jobs is down there too. But like it's like yeah, it just opens up so much more. Everything opens up when you have a boat. The world just opens up
Yeah.
more when you have a boat. Even as simple as in God of War, with the new God of War games, you have a little like canoe basically, but things just open up more. You can go to all these different places. Yeah, that was nice, I felt so accomplished whenever I was like, I'm about to buy a boat right now. Like this is my boat. I'm about to buy
Dude, you
this
get to
thing.
customize the boat,
And
which I thought was cool. You get to
yeah,
customize it a little bit.
yeah. So yeah, I'm trying to think of. I don't know if you have any more to add on to that,
I mean,
but
just with Particio 1, I always have a soft spot for like, again, we talk a lot about archetypes here. The rescue your
sure,
father from the
yeah,
underworld, where like,
yeah,
Particio had a good father. He was a good man who only ever cared about his town, his son, his business. But due to an act of betrayal, it all went to dirt. It all went to ash. And it's not because
yeah,
Particio's dad was a bad
mm-hmm,
guy or a bad businessman. It's just that Mr. Rock
mm-hmm,
genuinely screwed him on the contract. So, and it screwed over the whole
yeah.
town. So, Particio, in a sense, not
Dishonest business practices.
right, but
Yeah,
and to look at his father and not go, well, there's an example of being an honest businessman you'll only end up poor. He says, no, my father's path was the right path. There's just a hurdle that
mm-hmm,
needs to be overcome. So in the sense, Particio being this merchant who prioritizes prosperity, in a sense,
mm-hmm.
revives his father's dead dream, and in a sense, revives his dad. You see in the Endgame, his dad is spry again.
Yep,
His dad is out of the sick
yeah.
bed. Like
It's
it's
full of life in that.
full
Yeah,
of life
yeah, yeah.
again.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yep.
it's so good. It's like he broke a family curse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's stuff like that that really just, I don't know. Like you said, we've seen it all before, but when you do these things
Mm-hmm.
right, it feels new every time. It feels
Yeah,
fresh.
and
I
it
think it's just
feels
because it's
and you
real.
never get sick of them.
And I think
Yeah.
that's because it's real.
Yeah,
It's a real thing.
I think Particio had the most real story, like out of all of them, because it's like I mean, look at what we deal with today. Like
Yeah.
you see this all around you, and it's like that's like I want if there's one character I would like to be more like than anybody from Octopath, it would be Particio.
Me too.
That is the character I want to be like the most
Me too.
because like dude is like even whenever he was like beaten down, like there's always like dude, like he always sees the positives and everything. Like he has moments where like yeah, he does get upset, but like that doesn't derail him from his vision. That doesn't derail him from like it doesn't demotivate him. Like he's definitely one of the most influential characters in the game for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
He almost felt like the main character for a minute there. For a minute there,
yeah.
just because of everything.
It would have been. I think I kind of want to like do a run where I actually do pick Particio as like my protagonist because he feels like he would be like the leader, honestly. Which is funny because in terms of like combat prowess, almost everybody has like something above him, right? But like he's just like he's got the brains, man. Like he has that leader built within him. So,
That's
yeah,
why I loved his journey with Oswald. Oh god, and the whole the whole
Oh,
coffee thing,
that was
the
great.
whole coffee
Yeah,
thing with the two of them. I
I
got.
forgot about that. I forgot about that actually. I forgot about that. Um, and it's funny too because that one was great because those characters are they're on complete opposite sides of the spectrum. Complete opposite sides. Um, yeah, I think so. What was it? Was that your favorite side story? Was Particio and Oswald? Do you think? Do you have a favorite? Because for
Throne and
me,
Temenos.
I actually Throne and Temenos was good. Yeah, the the thief and the cleric who's basically the detective, right?
I loved it.
Like,
That's what I loved about it. It was like the
yeah,
detective and his assistant. And it was kind of cool to see
yeah,
Throne in like a number two role because she seems like such a character
right,
who has to do things her way, kind of, but to see her kind of on the back, riding shotgun, you know what I mean? There was just something
yeah,
interesting about that dynamic. And then you have Temenos, who like is sort of this soft spoken, easygoing
yep.
guy. And then you have
But
Throne, who's got
witty,
like an edge to her.
sarcastic,
Yeah.
kind of an a-hole sometimes,
Oh,
but he's
yeah.
hilarious. Like,
Exactly.
yeah. Um, I think, gosh, I Partition and Oswald was just hilarious to me because like they just like again they're just two completely different characters, but it works so well. Like the contrast works so well. I actually really loved Cassie and Ochette because Cassie was such a mom to like this chaotic daughter, like and it was just so like I kind of loved it. I think Ochette even calls her Ma. She's like
Yeah,
Ma,
she calls her mom.
she calls her yeah, like the nicknames are
Can I say one
cute.
thing
Like
about
she goes
Cassie?
Particio party. Yeah, go ahead.
I loved in the battle when it was like her turn and she, what to do, what to
What
do.
to
Like
do? You want to know what I also love?
just sums up my turn-based combat experience. Like, what to
I what to do?
do.
I love that I love that in like I think it was during some of like the banter sequences where she like they're like in the bar and Cassie's the one who's like she's the one throwing it down, dude. Like she's the one who can
She can
hold her
handle her
own.
poison,
Like
bro.
yeah,
She's
yeah,
drinking a lot
which
worse than
makes sense.
booze.
Like like she's the one mixing all the concoctions, but it was great because like she's typically a more serious character, but in those moments you see the silly side come out of her, and it's just like silly banter stuff, but it's like moments like that where I'm like, this is great. Like,
Yeah.
it's great to see her like go he, and it's like I never thought I would ever read that from Casty, from Ochette and Agnia, yeah, but not from Casty. But
Speaking of which,
it,
I think
yeah.
my favorite
So
banter, was when it was Throne, Oswald, and Hikari at one of the taverns. And Throne is just like, all right, listen, guys. Oswald, you're still wearing your prison uniform. Hikari, you're wearing the
I
same
forgot
thing.
about that.
You're wearing the same thing your mother dressed you in. We got to get you guys some new clothes. And Oswald's like, why? This covers my body. It's fine. And Hikari's like,
yeah,
and then Hikari's like, I've never thought about fashion. Like,
yeah. Well, also it was funny too because like I also didn't really strike Throde as the type to care about like different types of clothes. I guess
I did
like
because like she's
I
the
don't
most
know.
sort of like flashy dressed, and her hair is
Yeah,
like really done. Like Casty, that hair's cut
yeah,
back. Oh, Chet, she's a wild woman. That is no stress. So like
yeah,
Throne is
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like everything's
I
perfect
guess it
except for
makes
the
sense
earrings.
now. I would have thought that like Agnia would be like more like
But
the
she's the
type like that.
dancer. She's the dancer. She's like always
Yeah.
sweating.
Hmm.
You have to wear a particular
Yeah.
thing. Whereas like Throne,
Yeah,
yeah,
gosh. I kind of want to do like a video or a stream where like I go cuz you can actually go if you go to the tavern in the game, you could actually replay like those
yeah,
banter moments, which is nice. And I kind of want to go through like a bunch of them again because like I remember like specific ones, but like a lot of them were kind of just like they were fun in the moment, but I can't remember like
yeah.
some of them because there was just so much that goes on in that game. But it's moments like that and like Octopath 1 they had that too and it was great. It's moments like that where it's like I really would just sit there and I'm like, oh, I can like have banter. Wait, hang on. Now I have to switch. I have to go to the tavern and switch through. I have to test every combination possible and see what kind of banter I can get. I don't want to miss out on like something really funny or So, um, yeah, there was one, I can't remember the context of it, but it was all the guys, and it was really funny, and I can't remember the context of it, but it was like I remember there being one with all the guys, and I think there's one with all the girls as well. And it's like it's just such a nice touch.
They're a little
But
found family. That's what makes
yeah.
it fun. What's going on, Soup to Carrots? Andy, we're coming up on 2 hours here. Is there anything left from this game we want to discuss? Because we're going to come back to it. I think Octopath Traveler will probably be a thing. We can go character for character and really break it down.
Sure.
While we're here today, is there anything else you wanted to discuss?
I mean, unless you wanted to talk about more of like their stories, like I can't. I mean, we could that's saved for like another, the octopods, right? Like to go deep. We kind of touched on a couple of them, like Throde, Oswald, Particio, but like I mean, I think we covered pretty much everything that I feel like I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I mean, from the gameplay to like. I guess we could talk a little more about the music. I think this, like, we kind of briefly talked about it before, but like this is probably one. Yeah, dude, it was robbed, bro. It was robbed for a best soundtrack nomination and a best RPG. I was like, come on, man. Like, there's great games out there, but like, come on.
Best art direction.
Yeah,
should at least be nominated for best art
least
direction.
A nomination. Yeah, and I just really. Like this was my game of the year. Like I played FF16 this year. That was my number. It's flipped for me. FF16 was my number 2, and for a moment, FF16 was my number 1. But I was like really thinking about it and revisiting Octopath, and I'm like, dude, I had the journey for this game. Just did so much for me, and I think it also is because I played the first game and there was a lot of things that I was really craving from the first game that they gave me in this game, and I just felt heard. I felt heard in this game, and I'm like, this is like Octopath 2 is my game of the year, man. Like it just is.
Dude, honestly, it got close for me. It got close.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I was surprised Tears of the Kingdom finished 3rd for me on the year. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, right. Sure. Yeah.
But I'll say this. I think what this shows me actually scares me for the future of gaming. And before I bring up anything remotely negative, let me exercise a new feature for YouTube. You apparently, as a creator, can gift your channel 10 subs to 10 memberships every month. So 5 people were just gifted memberships to the Landy Lodge. Ryan Williams, Zach Anderson, That Venom, and Vitrin. Enjoy your memberships. YouTube is doing new things in 2024, so good for them.
I did not know that. I did not know that. That's awesome.
Gift memberships. I'll take it. I will take it.
That's cool. That's cool.
But to talk about why this game actually scares me for the future of gaming, because I think about an FF16, right?
Sure.
And do you know what I wanted more from FF16? Character moments. Joshua, Jill, Clive, all interacting. And we did get a good amount of that. Don't get me wrong. But the downfall of this new era of gaming is that now in all these big AAA titles, we expect every single line to be voice acted, every cutscene animated. So that means anytime you or I want Clive, Jill, or Joshua to interact, it costs Square Enix $1 million. Anytime we want them to interact between the animation, the music, the voice acting, in all languages, mind you, not just Japanese or English. So it's like anytime we want characters to interact in a AAA game, it's going to run the developers and the studio $1 million. Cutscenes ain't cheap.
Yeah.
But the benefit
costs some money, costs some more time, and
But the benefit of games like Octopath is like, you really can just throw up some text boxes and it can create some amazing moments. You know,
and what is cool is like you actually can. There's an option where like if you didn't want to listen to the voice acting, you could turn like in the cutscene. There's an option to just like turn that off, and then you could just read the text if you wanted to. You know, so that was like another cool thing. I can't remember what the first. Well, I can't remember if the first game did anything like that. But then again, there wasn't that much voice acting in the first game. So, No, I'm with you because like I'm thinking about FF16. FF16 had a lot of like big budget moments of like the cinematic battle moments, and there were some character moments, but it's like, man, I wish we had like more of those. And you actually do get some of those in like some of the side quests in FF16, especially towards the end. But like, dude, like I feel like in every chapter of Octopath 2, there was a character moment.
Yes.
There was something, and like I get it, like you probably can't do that for like Octopath, that's where Octopath really shines with its story, is like it is its characters. It really is the characters and the journey. That's why it's Octopath Traveler. They're really marketing the journey that they want you to embark on with these characters. It's the journey. And what better journey to have than one that's filled with memorable character moments. Big budget fight scene moments in these AAA games are great. They're amazing and they're memorable if they're done right. But what's valuable to me is like those character moments. That's why I get attached to to a lot of these games. I get attached to a lot of the characters. I get invested. I can get invested in the story because I'm attached to what the characters are doing throughout the story. I recently finished my first route of Fire Emblem Three Houses. Like the story overall, from what I experienced, I haven't done the other routes yet. It was good, but like what I really enjoyed was the characters. That's the best part of that game, is the characters and the relationships between each other. And it makes me care about like aspects of the story because I do care about these characters and like the relationships. And I have the same fear as you of like, I'm afraid that like we're going to get less character driven. I don't want to say character driven narratives because I think FF16 is character driven.
Very much so.
But I don't think
But it's a story about one man. It's not the story of a party, which is what a lot of RPGs are.
Right. And that's also why I know we're kind of deviating from Octopath, but like
that's fine. We're 2 hours.
That's why we're 2 hours in. That's why I prefer FF15 actually a little bit more than FF16. I think FF16 is more fun to play. I value like those relationships between the bros, right? I loved the best parts of FF15 for me were the DLCs because they fleshed out moments where like one of the characters they break off from the party in some way.
Ignis.
And dude, the Ignis DLC is one of the greatest DLCs from a story perspective that I've ever played. Like that made the base game. That DLC alone made FF15 one of my favorites. That DLC, and also Arden. I could do a whole podcast about Arden Azunia and why he's one of the greatest written villains of all time.
Let's do it.
We should.
We do it.
We actually should. I'm down for that.
He was the best part of 15.
I agree.
So good.
I agree with you.
And honestly, a villain, in my opinion, a villain on par with Sephiroth.
In terms, like, well, that's the thing. Like, I don't want to talk about 15 spoilers in the Octopath podcast, but like, that's the like, even because people will like be like, well, like, people look at villains like I haven't played FF6, but I'm very aware of Kefka.
I've been playing FF6 lately. I've been replaying it.
Yeah.
It's so freaking good.
I always so like how good this people is. People will like take like how good a villain is based off of like their success. I don't view it like that. I like to see like I want the reason why I think Arden is one of the best villains that Square Enix has is because of his backstory, dude. And I'm not gonna say anything, but essentially like his backstory is what makes him such a great villain. I even think even a better written villain, almost maybe I don't want to say a better written villain than Sephiroth, but in my opinion, the things that Arden went through, I think I connect with. And I just got attached to more.
Well,
because and like he's on par with Sephiroth in terms of writing, for me. Like
easily, and like they're two very different directions, right? Sephiroth is a story of a man Sephiroth is a story of a man who was doomed to be a monster from day one. Ardyn was like
he's screwed over by his brother, like screwed over by
the gods. The gods. He was just a pawn of the gods, and it wasn't his choice.
Was like, well, like this is your fate. And this is what's going to happen to you, and you have a part to play. And then Ardyn's like, okay, and then you get to the end of 15, and it's like, did Ardyn really lose? Did he? Did he win? So it's just there's a lot of FF15 and an Octopath podcast. I don't want to say too much, but what. Of great villains, I think Octopath 2 had some good villains. Harvey definitely stands out as a villain. I think even more like the father more than Claude for me, and Throne's route stood out more because that was a little more personal. But whenever you can make a villain whenever you can really connect to a villain, I think is when you have a really good plot going in a story. And that's why I think these moments where you are really highlighting these characters and giving them the screen time that they need to be fleshed out and to actually connect with. I think that's what makes great stories.
Well, I much prefer a villain. Here's the thing. I like Sephiroth more than Ardyn, but I like Ardyn's approach better for a villain, because Sephiroth is he's this monster that's been possessed, and you feel for him, but he had those Genova cells injected in the womb, kind of doomed from the start. I like the approach to Ardyn for a villain much better, and I would put him top 3 Final Fantasy villains. I would go Emmett Selk is 1, Sephiroth is 2, and I would put Ardyn as 3.
Who was the first one?
Emmett Selk. He's from FF14, and to put it lightly, he has a lot of parallels to the Master of Masters, not just in his temperament.
Okay, cool. A
lot of that.
Awesome.
But listen, man, we're over the 2-hour mark. Since we spiraled into Final Fantasy, I think that's a sign we got to wrap this up.
Good call. Yep, good call.
Thank you. Thanks.
I think we about everything.
Thank you for harping me to play this game. It's become one of my favorites.
Thank you for playing. Thank you for traveling.
Thank you for traveling. Can't think of a better way to end that. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you follow AndyBru. I've got all his links in the description. I've got everything. He's tagged in the title. If you're hanging out on Twitch, we're going to raid kitties and middies. So make sure you're hanging out for that. And Andy, dude, always a pleasure, my man. We'll, whether it's Octopath or it's the one about Ardyn, whatever it's got to be, we'll be in here again soon.
Yeah, dude. I'm looking forward to it for sure. I'm looking forward to either being in the chat or being in the lodge, these are always, it's always a good time. It's always a good time here. So
always a good time. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
And thank you, Andy. Thank you for always stepping in the lodge and bringing the heat. You always bring it.
Dude, listen, the heat was already here because we're burning the lodge down, okay? It's just the flames are rising. And listen, we're burning the lodge only for it to be risen from the ashes, okay? So everybody has a part to play, right? The heat's already here. I'm just fanning the flame, right? I love it. Yeah, no, it's always fun being here, whether it's Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy, Octopath now, whatever it is. Always a good time. Thank you, man.
Joined right at the end. Well, Bio, you made it for the raid. All right, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.